Well, it's that time of year again. Mercury retrograde. Again. This time, it's going to be shorter. It's going to be shorter, so yay, you can look forward to that, yay. But it's going to be starting in Sagittarius. 6 degrees Sagittarius, moving backwards back into Scorpio, 20 degrees. I don't know, because it's going to be conjunct so many things at that point. It's going to be conjunct Mars, the Sun, Lilith, Venus, and the whole time, Uranus is opposing it over at the late degrees of Taurus. It's going to be an intense one as far as like socially, as far as culturally and everything. So let's talk about like what Mercury retrograde in like Sagittarius looks like versus what it looks like in Scorpio. Mercury in Sagittarius is basically kind of like a big mouth kind of person anyways, no filter whatsoever. So imagine Mercury retrograde is kind of like the unevolved version of Mercury in Sagittarius. So it's kind of one of this whole idea of, I've got all kinds of great ideas, even bad ones. And so it's going to be all kinds of discussion, about things like what I'm specifically really looking at here is the U.S. government shutdown. That's what I'm looking at. So there's going to be in the very beginning, because it starts on November 9th, just a few days after I post this. And I'm going to say more ideas are coming to the table as Mercury's in Sagittarius. But then like the bad ones start coming to the table. And they're going to be like, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Mercury starts moving backwards. And then what happens is it moves back into Scorpio at about 27 or 28 degrees Scorpio, which I believe is around November 20th. I don't know what day that is. Hold on. I don't trust it. Hold on. I need to look at my charts again. Yes, it starts at 6. Mars is at 4 degrees. Mercury is conjunct Mars on the 12th. Mercury is conjunct Mars on the 12th. And now we're backing up. The Sun is moving closer. So Mercury enters Scorpio late November 18th. Goes right back into it at that point. And then, late November 20th, Mercury is Cazimi the Sun. Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. The Cazimi with the Sun and the new moon in Scorpio, and Mercury, which are all conjunct at the same time, is around 2 a.m. the 20th. 2 a.m. the 20th. Cazimis naturally create big realizations. This is a Cazimi in Scorpio, which means that there's going to be a giant change of perspective. What's cool about it, though, is that it's in Scorpio. Scorpio is all about getting down to the deep down root of things. So this is what I see. I see it more reflecting as far as like how it's going to work out with the government socially. If it's in your chart, and I'm going to get to that here, we'll talk about that and how it like affects. Yes, of course it's in your chart, but is it actually aspecting anything? It may or may not. Which is the important message that you need to know here. I need to restart this whole thing. Venus is in the early degrees of Scorpio, so it's not super close to it. But it will be crossing Mars. It will be crossing the Sun. It will be crossing Lilith as well, which I believe Lilith is at like 26 degrees. And opposing Uranus, of course, at the last degrees of Taurus, talking about, revelations and kind of some chaos, but also, rebellion, sudden insight, that kind of stuff, very Aquarian things, right? There's a lot of aspects, and I'm seeing the government shutdown. That's kind of where I'm kind of aiming all this at. November 20th is the go date, is what I'm going to say. November 20th is the go date, and that's going to be the day that revelations and understandings are made, or somewhere within, I'm going to say a 24-hour before, 24-hour after period of about 2 a.m. Eastern time, November 20th. Okay, so a 24-hour period from there should be some sort of shifting happening. We may not see it reflect in the government or any decisions as far as the government turning back over. I don't know if there's votes or anything like that. What day is the 20th anyway? Go, gadget calendar. Let's see. Okay, that's a Thursday. So maybe something will happen by Friday. As far as like decisions. And so maybe it'll reopen at that time, or there's going to be some other shift. I'm hoping that it'll be better. Pluto's sextiling the whole thing. And so it's kind of like one of those, I'm not sure which direction this is going to go. Things can go all kinds of directions. So that's the social, cultural aspect of everything. You can expect big revelations with that new moon in Scorpio conjunct the Mercury Retrograde Cazimi. If it is aspecting your personal planets, or even your outer planets, any planets or angles in your chart, you might want to call your mom. Basically, you might want to call your mom. And I say this just kind of as a joke, just because this is all conjunct my sun, because my birthday is on the 17th. So yeah, that's fun. And, my Uranus is right there. My Juno is right there. Yeah, it's fun times. So it's going to be an interesting, realization time for me. So I can only imagine how it's going to affect the rest of you. But when it comes to that, I am offering, because I wanted to do this for myself. So this is the kind of process that I do, is when I see this stuff in my chart, not every Mercury retrograde is going to affect you. It's really not. There's going to be times where it's in your chart and it's in a house that really doesn't aspect hardly anything. And you're just like, well, I didn't really feel that one. Of course not. You're not going to feel it 100% of the time. I am Mercury dominant and Mercury ruled. So a lot of times the Mercury retrogrades don't really affect me that much, but when they do, they do. So, because I had a Cazimi where the Mercury got within 17 minutes of the sun, with the sun on my Leo moon, within 17 degrees of my natal Leo moon. That was a rough time, but I came out to some beautiful revelations at the time, some understandings about astrology that I really didn't get. I figured out, what did I figure out? What was the name of that stuff? I figured it out on my own, so I didn't know the actual name of it. Derivative astrology. I know, most of you probably haven't heard of that, but I figured it out on my own through my own pattern seeking. But anyways, I had figured that out right at about that time. My own pattern, I was like, oh, what is this called? And, AI was just like, well, duh, it's called derivative astrology, stupid. Oh. So, hey, I'm a real person too. Well, in this kit, this kit that I've got here. The link is at atlantiswaits.com. You can click on the link below in the description if you wish. I'll also leave it in a comment just so you can have access. It's going to include a worksheet for you to work out. Where is this going to be in my chart? How is it going to affect me? As well as a key to show you exactly what's going to happen. What's cool about this is you can use this if you purchase it. You can use it any retrograde. And use it at any time, making it so that you can reuse it over and over and over again. It's also going to have an 8-minute Mercury detox meditation, Mercury antidote meditation in it too. So just because, I am a voice actor and I have good audio. So yeah, if you're interested, take a peek at it and let me know what you think about it. Okay, let's move on. I want to go over some things you can do in the meantime to help clear out the clutter. Mercury is a lot of stuff going on. It's very Gemini, right? It's very Gemini, very Virgo. What you can do to clear out your energy space during this time. So what you can do is you can do like an email or text or DM detox. Get rid of the stuff you haven't touched in 30 days that you don't need to keep. Get rid of it. Get it out of your inbox. When you start to see empty space, you're going to be like, oh, it actually does kind of feel better. It's kind of like the concept of feng shui, but in your email box. It's kind of like that. Do that. That will actually help you feel a lot better. Do like Gemini things. Do Virgo things. Go clean your kitchen. Do your laundry. Press your shirts. Whatever you want to do. It'll help you feel better. It just kind of helps you move with the energy, because when you try to fight directly against it, that's when you're going to have problems. That's when people fight against what's happening in the sky. It's a reflection of what's going on. It's not the cause. It is the reflection. When you fight against it, you find that the matrix, the simulation, right, doesn't want to work with you at all. So this is when shit goes sideways. This is when your credit card gets declined. This is when your bank account suddenly shuts down and gets overdrawn. This is when, your best friend hates you because your autocorrect fucked things up. You don't want to do that. So you want to move with the flow. Get that worksheet, find out what house this is in, and really dig into that. I'm going to give you a little bit of, tidbits on what's going to happen here based on your rising sign. Now, so based on your rising sign, we're going to go by whole sign, okay? Anything with having to do with transits, particularly with outer planets, but even like inner ones, I use whole sign. That's what traditional astrologers do. I had no idea that traditional astrologers did that. If I did, I disregarded it because if I don't see the pattern, I don't follow it. That's just how I work. I have Sun conjunct Uranus in my chart. I see the rules and I'm like, should I listen to this? I didn't listen to the whole thing that the traditional astrologers do whole sign. I didn't listen to it because I was just like, whatever. Placidus is fine. Campanus is fine. I use Campanus. I like Campanus better. But when it comes to transits, from what I've seen as far as what's reflected and what happens over the years of doing this, of course, this has been years of me watching, it follows whole sign. So a lot of these planets changing signs like Saturn and Neptune and then Uranus going into Gemini later, these are going to change people's whole signs in their thing. So we're going back to Mercury retrograde because I'm getting distracted and I don't have a script here. So I'm all over the fucking place. It's fine. You can be entertained. Are you not entertained? So we'll start with Scorpio Rising. This retrograde is going to start in your second house first of Sagittarius, whole sign. That's going to be your house of self-worth and of cash, your money, your material values, trusting yourself, that kind of thing. And it's going to move back into your first house of self and body, your outward projection, your fearlessness in how you portray yourself. You may want to look at, if you decide to go with the worksheet packet, is look at the 7th house and the 8th house as well, just because Uranus is over there crossing from your 7th to your 8th at the same time, being touched on by Mercury. Libra Rising, you are seeing this starting in your 3rd house, moving back into your 2nd house. 3rd house of communication, your siblings, and Gemini things, gathering info, that kind of stuff, and moving backwards into your 2nd house of cash, material worth, trusting yourself, which you will want to work through as far as check if you decide to take a look at this Mercury retrograde packet that I'm making. Check how it affects your 8th and your 9th house. Check how it affects that, just because Uranus is transiting from your 8th house to your 9th house currently and being touched on by Mercury the whole time. Look into that. Look into those details. I'll have all those specifics in the kit. Virgo Rising. This is touching you on your 4th house and then back into your 3rd house. Assuming that you have, your 4th house at, getting all Virgo-y here. I'm a Virgo rising, so I'm like getting all detailed. And I know that you can handle that. So it's for most of us, unless your rising sign is exactly at 0 degrees Virgo, you're going to have your 4th house probably starting in Sagittarius. That's where your retrograde's going to start. It's going to move, that's in the 4th house of house, home, the deep down inner self, the way you feel deep down in your heart. Very Cancerian things, maybe your mother too. Okay, it's going to move backwards into the 3rd house of Gemini. Gemini, it'll be Scorpio for your 3rd house, and so it'll be moving back in there regarding communications and discussions, ideas. Gemini like scorpionic things. Okay, it's going to do that. But what I also want you to take a look at is how it's going to start in your 10th house and move back into your 9th house. Okay, that's what it's going to do. It's going to move in your 10th house and move back into your 9th house as it goes back into Scorpio at the 20 degrees, because that's where Uranus is crossing right now. It's getting ready to for you. Leo Rising, it's going to start in your 5th house, moving backwards into your 4th house. Okay, so it's going to reflect in your creativity. You're going to have some new great ideas. Maybe. Hopefully. You'll start really thinking about how you're going to do your Leo things, as far as like presenting yourself. It's very creative. It could be about children. Could be about general romance too. Fifth house is about romance and just loving everybody, that kind of thing. And then it moves back into your fourth house of house, home, the deep down inner self for you. Okay. I want you to look across the table, across the chart, and look at how, Uranus is currently crossing between your 10th and 11th house right now. And but Mercury is tagging on Uranus this whole time while it's crossing through this whole thing. So Uranus moving in, is getting ready to move into your 11th house. It's currently probably in your 10th house. But that's going to be affected. You're going to get flavors of all that stuff. If you decide to go with the worksheet that I am building, that can help clarify some things for you. Cancer Rising. This will be in your 6th house. Starting in your 6th house, moving backwards into your 5th house. 6th house of Virgo, of daily routines and health and organizing things, making things very efficient, that kind of stuff. Work, basically. Not career, but work. Like, daily things that you got to do. And then it's going to move backwards into your house of enjoyment, living life, creativity, doing your thing and having fun. Romance, that kind of stuff. What I want you to also look at is that how it's going to affect, because Uranus is crossing from your 11th house to your 12th house, and it's opposing this Mercury retrograde the whole time. Take a look at how those houses play into this too, just because it's directly opposing it and putting some strain on things. So if you take a look at the worksheet that I'm building, it'll give you some ideas of how to better interpret it and see what may or may not be coming down the pipe. Because of course things are always up in the air. Only just a reflection, not a cause. All right, Gemini. Gemini, this is happening starting in your 7th house, crossing back into your 6th house. 7th house is of relationships with other people, not just marriage or romantic partnerships, but any partnerships, family relationships, work relationships, all kinds of stuff. How you relate to people. Is it fair? That kind of thing. And then Mercury is going to move backwards into Scorpio in your 6th house of daily routine and work and health. So you may see some new introspective ideas in regards to those topics. Keep an eye out because Uranus is getting ready to transit into your 1st house, right? From the 12th to the 1st, okay? It's getting ready to transit. It's opposing this retrograde the whole time. Keep an eye out on those things. If you get the worksheet that I'm building, you can take a look and it breaks down how it would kind of flavor things for you. All right, Taurus Rising. Taurus. This retrograde is starting in your 8th house. Starting in your 8th house of Scorpionic things, moving backwards into the 7th house of Libra things. But it's, Sagittarius and Scorpio instead. The 8th house is always interesting. This is where it's starting. So to have Mercury retrograde in your 8th house, starting there, you're looking at some serious change. Scorpio is always intense and transformative. It's always intense and transformative. So having it start there is going to be interesting for you. I think that you'll see the beginning parts of this retrograde affecting you a little bit more than the rest of it, especially if you have placements there. I just keep seeing transformation. It's changing. And the fact that you are a Taurus rising, it's not good. You don't like that stuff, and I get it. Completely get it. Sagittarius in the 8th is brand new ideas. Sometimes even bad ones. Brand new ideas. Checking out new stuff. Just trying shit just cuz. That kind of thing. That's a good thing for you. So you may see some good advancement throughout that whole process. And then it's going to move back into Scorpio in your relationships in the 7th house. Relationships not just with your person. I'm talking with everybody. Your kids, your family, your boss, your coworkers, all that stuff. It's going to talk about how you're going to perceive things just a little bit different. Or you're going to understand who you are in relation to them a little bit differently throughout this whole process. Aries Rising. This is starting in your 9th house of Sagittarius and moving backwards into the 8th house of Scorpio for you. This will be in regards to themes of like higher education, things of spirituality starting out. So you may have bigger ideas that really pop in during this time. Just because, introspection from Mercury retrograde does create big, good ideas, right? So, and then it's going to move backwards into the house of change. So what's really interesting about like Aries risings is that whenever you have something tagging on your 9th and your 8th house, it does tend to instigate change for you. Just because it's like with the retrograde in your Sagittarius house, 9th house, it's like you're going to see this amazing, great idea. You're going to be like, oh, and you might think about it for a little bit. And then the retrograde moves into Scorpio and you're like, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do this. Because you're Aries. You're not afraid to do things. It's great. And so, but there's also times of maybe I shouldn't do this. So it's really going to make you kind of waffle back and forth in regards to those things. Because like 8th and 9th house, it's always more intense, especially since this is happening in Scorpio too. You can always check out more on how it's going to affect you in the worksheet if you choose. Pisces Rising. This is going to occur starting in your 10th house. Moving backwards into your 9th house. So that means it's crossing over your midheaven, right? Or, if your midheaven's in those degrees. If your midheaven's anywhere from 6 degrees and earlier in Sagittarius, that's when you can really do that. Anyways, so you may see new ideas in regards to like your outward appearance, what you're doing for a living. Could be even like a lifestyle status change or something like that, or deciding on something about that. Oh, I have an idea that I'll do this and change my work, that kind of thing. It could be like that. And then when it moves backwards into the 9th house, it's almost like it stirs a need to learn more. That's kind of what it is. What it feels like. It feels like it stirs the need to learn more and really dig into it deep and find what the real deep down thing is for you. That's how I kind of see this playing out. You'll get this great idea and then it moves back and be like, how do I implement this? Let's slow it down a little bit. Leaning on that fixed Scorpio energy. But Scorpio is all about the root cause of stuff. It's almost like you're about to find that. That's what it feels like. Aquarius Rising, it is starting in your 11th house and moving back into your 10th house. Your 11th house is in Sagittarius. Some new ideas about communities, bringing in new stuff, but also the house of rebellion, the house of I'm going to do what the fuck I want. I do what I want. It's starting in there. But it's going to start making you think, is this actually what I want? It's kind of one of those things. And then it moves back into your 10th house to almost like it's going to be implemented into your daily career or daily life status. I see status changes, with major relationship changes too. So it's not necessarily just purely career. It could even be like name changes or something like that too. So do I actually want to do this? I'm not sure if I do. There's something about that. Scorpio in the 10th house. It's like you're getting down to the deep down root of what's causing pain in your outward persona, in your work, most likely. It's probably your work. Could be something else too, don't get me wrong. It's all dependent on what's going on in your chart, if something's being tagged on by this whole thing, right? Capricorn Rising. So Capricorn, this is starting in your 12th house and moving back to your 11th house. So Sagittarius being in your 12th house is basically where you have like a bunch of new ideas. However, you really tend to rein these in a natural way just because it's in the 12th house. You rein these new ideas in a natural way. You kind of keep them quiet. You keep them to yourself. And it's like, what's that word? What's that saying? They always just say, move silently and don't tell anybody what you're doing. It's a lot like that. So with Mercury retrograding starting in your 12th house, it's basically like you're going to sit back and be like, okay, I've got this one thing that I'm really thinking about. Should I or shouldn't I? And you're really thinking about it, really internalizing it a lot. And it feels like it's something that you don't want to talk about to other people. That's what it feels like with the 12th house being here. And then it's going to move back into the 11th house. This is where you finally get to the point where you're just like, okay, I think I'm going to discuss it with my friends, because the 11th house is a house of friendship too. Friendship and communities and opening up to people around you. It's also the I do what I want house. I do what I want rebellion house. So you may just decide, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. So it's going to be a new thing, something you're going to consider potentially. If it's tagging on planets, you're far more likely to feel this. If it's not tagging on planets or angles, which it shouldn't be tagging on angles if it's right there, but given that you are a Capricorn rising, but if it's tagging on any planets or something there, then there might be more to it in that. If you decide to go with the worksheet that I mentioned earlier, that can help break it down better for you. Okay, and lastly but not leastly, Sagittarius Rising. This is happening starting in your 1st house, and then it's moving back into your 12th house. So it's like when Mercury goes retrograde in your 1st house of self and of who you are and who you present yourself to be, about your forward motion in life, what you put yourself to the forefront, that kind of thing. This is when you're turning the mirror and looking back at yourself and you're just like, do I like this? I don't know about that. Kind of one of those things. And so what happens is that you kind of don't really like what you're seeing. I don't know what you're seeing, okay? I'm not saying you're an ugly person. That's not what I'm saying. But you may be seeing something that you don't really like in that reflection. And that's always the goal with astrology, okay? The goal is to see in the reflection, because if you can see it, you can address it. And you are not beholden to it. This is the whole thing. So you're going to see yourself and you're going to be like, oh, there's that one piece of me. I've got this really nasty jealous streak or something. I don't know, whatever. I'm just throwing it out there. And you're like, well, and then retrograde moves back into your 12th house and you dig down deep into your old psyche, right? In Scorpio, deep down in the psyche of Scorpio to find out where did that come from and how do I get rid of it? If you decide to go with the worksheet that I have the link to, it'll help you out here, okay? It'll help you out with understanding more of this stuff too, because you may see some things across the chart too, just because Uranus is across the way. Okay, so end result, don't panic. Don't panic. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. It's just Mercury retrograde. You do this 3 or 4 times a year. It's not a big deal. But what if you could make it better? What if this can turn into a major revelation? With that Cazimi, that new moon in Scorpio Cazimi, right then and there, oh my goodness, that is a powerhouse of possibility right there. That needs to be something that people need to capitalize on, honestly. There is so much out there that we can use, especially if you have placements out there like aspecting that whole thing. Oh yeah, just get it done. The key is with these Mercury retrogrades is if it's not affecting you really in your chart, fuck it. Doesn't matter, right? Just go with day by day. But if something blows up, text goes sideways or whatever, you're like, well, fuck. And then you move on, But if you really want to get a deep down thing and maybe have like a little toolkit so that you can address this stuff every time it happens, check out the link, atlantiswaits.com. That's where it's going to be, where you can purchase it either there or like through Etsy too, because I'm going to put it all out there. And it also has an 8-minute meditation to kind of help ground you. Let's say that this is hitting your sun sign like it's hitting mine. I'll be like, it's going to be like the Hunger Games over here. I can't even like squeeze my hands like this. My hands are real tight. I've got like Nordic hands. I'm like Hunger Games. But if it's crossing your sun sign or crossing your sun or crossing your Uranus or whatever, everybody who was born in like, the late 70s to the early 80s, it's crossing their Uranus. It's crossing all that stuff. So shit's going down for Gen Xers. So just because you've got all kinds of like placements that are right there. And let's say the people who were born, I'm going to say probably around, the early 90s. The early 90s where Pluto was right there. Yeah, that's fun too. That's fun too. So check out the kit, see where you're at, see if it's going to affect anything for you. And that way you have a general idea of what area of life this stuff may show up in and where you should be careful and not lose your shit, right? Because as long as you can see it, you can run with it and work with it rather than against it. That's what I got for you today. Thanks so much for being here. If you do get the kit and you decide that you find that it was very helpful, leave me a comment or send me a DM or something like that. I want to hear it. Or if you have something crazy going on, send me your chart details. Let me read it. I'll do it on video. That way then you can see it. All right. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining me for today's episode. To connect with me further, check out AtlantisWaits.com.